Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, it's good. You can continue.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Did you hear me before or no?
Oh yeah, we could hear you before. Before it was not recording.
Okay, no worries. But again, we have the First and Forest project, which starts from Second Avenue all the way to First Avenue. That is a stormwater project that we've been working on for about 3 years now. So the improvements will be starting on Monday. So we'll see a lot of construction activity. Again, 2022 is the year of a lot of changes and a lot of construction. And that's because we've been spending the last 2 years, since we've been in the COVID lockdown and COVID situation, doing a lot of planning, a lot of meetings, a lot of public hearings, so on and so forth. So 2022 is a very exciting year for us, not just because we're getting into a new facility, but because we do have a lot of projects in the hopper right now. But First and Forest will be the first one that you see, and that'll be starting next week. Again, this is a stormwater project. Again, town facilities, we had our FF&E, which is the fixtures, furnishings, and other equipment delivered yesterday. So I'm glad to see that. And thank you very much to Stephen Withers, John Fitzgibbon. They've done a fantastic job on making sure that every penny, every dime is accounted for, and it's going to be a facility that everybody's going to be happy with. So we'll probably have a grand opening sometime after we have some time to work out some of the kinks, but we'll make sure that we have a nice open house so people can do tours and so on and so forth. And the boards and committees will have a new room to actually start meeting in as opposed to town hall, and we'll have a new AV system. So again, it's going to be just a great addition to the town of Windermere, and I think you're going to be very, very proud of it. It's going to help us not only retain employees, but it's also going to help us provide a better service and quality of service to all the residents. And we hope to be in there by mid-February. As you know, we've been working on a lot of stormwater projects. We have the Butler Basin, which goes from 7th Avenue down to Butler and then all the way back to 5th. It ends pretty much at Fernwood Park. So we actually have the 90% plans approved. The Water Management District finally approved those plans as well. So we'll start bidding those out starting in February and probably looking to start construction this summer. That project included with the Bessie and the West 2nd Avenue project are all funded through federal grants. It's called HMGP grant. What happened was that prior to Irma, the town of Windermere and staff decided to go ahead and throw in projects into this a grant portal kind of thing, to where if a disaster ever happened, then we would be eligible for money. As you know, the town's overall operating budget is $6 million. $2 million of that comes from taxes. The other comes from, other ancillary taxes like half-cent sales tax, revenue sharing, so on and so forth. So we don't have a lot of money. People think, okay, you're the town of Windermere, you have money coming out your pockets. We don't. So we have to find money through grants or through federal earmarks or through state appropriations in order to get these projects done. So Butler Basin project is one of those projects. That's $1 million project that is going to be funded through the HMGP grant. And we probably looked at construction probably sometime in the summer as well. So again, it's the staff working to save the town money, because right now your stormwater assessment that you get only generates about $200,000 a year. So we'd have to save for 5 years to just get one project done. So it's a good job that I have a great staff and we're able to get these projects done. And we had a lot of public involvement. If anybody that lives on 7th Avenue or Butler hasn't met us personally, they just haven't been paying attention, because we've been out there and working with the public to make sure that whatever we do, we get the public input and we do it right, because it's going to be in their front yards. And the same thing through the Butler Basin as well. That extends pretty much the entire, I would say, east side of Maine, south of 6th. All the dirt roadways, again, taking care of all the stormwater improvements. People are talking about, okay, we're going to pave the roadways, we're going to widen the roadways, we're going to keep everything exactly the same. The only thing you're going to see different is some culverts and some low-grade swales. And we're going to be doing some other improvements out there as well. So for each of these projects, we're going to be putting in potable water systems. So those people that haven't had the ability to access potable water, not only for drinking water, but also for fire protection, they'll be able to access those as well. And that was part of our mass utility study that was one of the onboarding things that the town wanted me to take a look at, was getting potable water to each and every individual in the town of Windermere. So that's in the hopper as well. So Butler and Bessie will be bid out for contracts in February. And then West 2nd Avenue, the 90% plans are on the town council agenda for tonight. So once those are approved, then we'll take it to the Water Management District for approval. Then we'll probably bid that out in March. There's certain dates that we have to make sure that we're hitting in order for us to meet the grant deadlines. So we're making sure that we're hitting each one of those deadlines. Again, that's $3 million that the town was able to access through Hurricane Irma dollars. And again, Irma was quite some time ago. But again, it's the federal government, and we're working with what we have to make sure that we get everything done in a timely manner. But again, this year will be the year that we'll get those 3 projects done. With West 2nd Avenue, it's actually widening the roadway a little bit, so 2 cars can actually pass each other. And if you guys are familiar with the Kirby property or the other improvements that we've done on West 2nd Avenue, you can see what the width of the roadway is going to look like as far as the type of curbing and the swale. So we've again held various public meetings and had personal meetings. So I think everybody's happy with that, and there hasn't been really any objections to that. So again, it's going to be a really enhanced roadway. It's not going to increase the speed. We're going to make sure we put some traffic control devices on West 2nd Avenue as well to make sure that we slow it down, but it's going to be wide enough for 2 cars to pass by, and there won't be alligator cracking, so on and so forth. The Windermere Brewery, that should be opening up sometime in March. Been talking with Andy and Joe, and they're excited. We're still looking to see if we're going to have our St. Patty's Day event, with the whole Omicron variant, and we don't know what variant's going to be. That in a second. We don't know what environment will be in March, so we're still holding on that. It's just something that's really self provided. So if we want to go, then it's going to be Chief and I and Mayor Brian putting it on. So, but we're still hoping that the brewery be open on in March. We finally received information that the developers of the 500 block are working towards submitting plans. If you're not familiar with the 500 block, it is pretty much the Jim Carr property that is where the Susie Carr Realty building was or is, Allen's Creamery, pretty much that little corner area. They went through the PUD planning, which allows them like an overlay to allow them to develop what they wanted to develop as per what was approved in 2004 when Kevin Azus actually was trying to develop that entire area. So they are drafting something consistent with that. So we're going to look and see what they have planned for that, and hopefully, see some movement on that in 2022, 2023. Somebody asked a question relative to what area of West 2nd Avenue. We're going from Main Street all the way down to the cul-de-sac. So it's the entire length of West 2nd Avenue. So you're going to see an improvement that entire way. The Windermere Pavilion, again, that's something we want to thank Rotary for being involved in, specifically Byron and Norma. I know they put a lot of hard work into that. So once we are able to vacate the temporary structures, that'll hopefully free up them to go ahead and proceed with moving forward with the Windermere Pavilion. Again, a lot of changes, a lot of new additions to the town, and it's going to enhance the quality of life in town. But again, we want to thank Windermere Rotary and the West Orange Healthcare District for providing that grant to the town, or not to the town, but to Rotary, and then Rotary taking the lead on that to make sure that we get a nice entertainment complex for all the events that we have in town. Because as you can see, whether it's food trucks, wine and dine, so on and so forth, we've become a very popular hotspot for special events. And they're great fundraisers for boards, committees, and for the Rotary as well. We have the Ward Trail. Everybody that drives into town, they're always asking, why don't you do something with that area that's between dirt main and paved main? And until about 3 years ago, we didn't own the majority of that. Well, we were able to acquire it through the wards and the DP Lynn trusts. And then subsequent to that, I've been purchasing some of those properties or doing property swaps with property owners. And now we own pretty much the majority of that old railroad system. So the first phase is going to take us from north all the way up to Windermere Elementary School, and it includes a new pedestrian bridge. It's going to be a bowstring bridge that looks like an old railroad bridge that'll be going over the canal. So we'll be replacing the pedestrian bridge that's currently there, and it'll be at a height that is at the height of the road bridge. So I know with some of the boaters, it's hard for you to get underneath that pedestrian bridge. That's going to change. And so the Ward Trail will be a multimodal trail. So it'll involve some golf carts, pedestrian biking, whatever type of rollerblades, whatever you want to do on that trail. It's going to probably extend from Windermere Road, eventually all the way down to Chase Road, and then from 6th Avenue all the way down to the Grove area. So everybody in town, whether you're in an HOA north of the canal or you're south, are going to be able to access all the parks, all the town facilities, 500 block, the school, the Grove area via golf cart, bike, walk, so on and so forth. So just picture like the West Orange Trail between Winter Garden and Oakland. It's not going to be something that's urban. It's going to be more suburban, but it'll be about 10 to 12 foot wide. So you can pass 2 golf carts past each other. And then we're make sure that we have a landscape buffer for those individuals that are living next to that trail system. That is being funded through federal earmarks. We got $765,000 from Congresswoman Deming's office. So that's going to help out. We are working with Geraldine Thompson on state appropriations. We actually requested for about $12 million of appropriations to get not only potable water systems throughout the entire town, but to enhance some of the roadways in and out of town. And then we're working with the West Orange Healthcare Alliance through Healthy West Orange and several of the other communities, meaning Orange County, Winter Garden, Ocoee, Oakland. We're all working together to make sure that all of our trail systems interconnect. So you can get on a bike and get to the West Orange Trail. You can get on a bike and get to Horizons West. So that is pretty much our goal collectively. And we're going to be meeting on February 17th as our first executive board of the Regional Trail System Alliance, whatever you want to call it. And hopefully we can get some more dollars for that trail system. One of the things that's going to be coming up in 2022, and this is a county initiative, is the 1 cent sales tax. That 1 cent sales tax is going to be on the 2022 ballot. And what the county is asking for is that money would go to transportation. So it's broken up into 3 different buckets. The first bucket is 45% of the tax revenue that would be generated, which is about $600 million a year. So 45% of that would go to Sunrail. Another 45% would go to the Lynx bus system, and 10% would be divided up into all the local jurisdictions based on population. So our pretty much portion of that would be about $367,000 a year. So that's something that the county is asking for resolutions of support of. But we need to have presentations and workshops with the council to see if that's something that we're willing and able to do. But they are looking to increase the tax or the sales tax by 1 cent to pay for transportation. And the majority of that is going to the Lynx bus system and to Sunrail. And then 10% would go to the municipalities. Now we're working with Orlando and other municipalities to request additional increases in that 10% allocation, take 5% from each of the Sunrail and the Lynx bus system to get it to 20%, which would get us around $700,000 a year for road improvements. When I say road improvements, what we would be looking at is maybe a roundabout at 12th and Chase. We would make roundabout improvements to 6th Avenue, and we would go ahead and do a roundabout at Windermere Road and Main Street as well. Our intent is, again, to keep the flow coming and going. We want to reduce the amount of cut-through traffic through the interior roadways. There are no ways to do parallel relievers, so the traffic that's coming in is going to be with us, and the only way we can do it is to try to get them in and out as quick as possible. And not speeding, but get them in and out during those peak hours. We can stomp our feet, raise our hands as much as we can to Orange County to tell them, hey, listen, you need to slow down the development of Horizons West, but that's not going to stop anytime soon. So we can only do what we can as far as creating those relief areas to make sure that it's flowing hopefully smoother than it is right now. Another thing that we're working on too is 6th Avenue. It's in bad shape. We redid it in 2004, 2005. If you've driven down that roadway, you hit the speed bump, or not the speed bumps, but you hit the potholes, you have the alligator cracking, so on and so forth. So, we're really going to be looking at maybe doing a full depth mill and resurface either in 2022, 2023. and get rid of that little divot that is on the 6th Avenue roundabout when you take a right onto 6th Avenue going north or going east. Everybody hits that dip, I hit that dip, and it's not the best thing in the world. But all in all, that is a quick rundown of all that we're doing. Some of the additional things that we're doing is at Fernwood Park and Lake Street Park. I know that, a lot of local residents have issues with, people partying out there. We've had a couple deaths relative to jet skis, boaters, so on and so forth. So with Fernwood Park, the town council made the decision to make that a boat ramp. So it is not going to be a public park, it is going to be a boat ramp, but the public still, town residents still have access to that area. It's just going to be closed off to people that, sorry, I was reading some of the chat. But again, you're still gonna have access to it. You want to enjoy the lake, you can walk over, there's gonna be a pedestrian gate, but what it's trying to do is curtail some of the people using that as a jump off point for Bird Island. The same thing with Lake Street Park. Some people are using that as a jet ski drop off and pick up, and we're making sure that we end some of that issue through some of the ordinances that we just passed and making sure that we have security cameras put up. We have one up at Fernwood right now. We're going to put one up at Lake Street and Lake Down Parks. Again, to make sure that we have a live stream so our officers have more of a presence and that the neighbors can, again, enjoy their peace and quiet at those locations. Now in March, the Board of County Commissioners will be passing an ordinance, hopefully, to expand the area or pretty much create a no swim zone or a swim zone, I'm sorry, extended out from Bird Island. And then there'd be no motorized vehicles within that swim zone. And they're creating a no wake zone as well near Bird Island, which is Egret Island, to hopefully eliminate some of the shenanigans that are happening out on Bird Island. Again, it's not saying that everybody is having issues out there, but the majority that we see and a lot of the police calls that we get are associated with people that are out there drinking, they're going onto the island, they're destroying the bird habitat. So we need to make sure that we protect that as much as possible. It is actually owned by the Audubon Society. So we're doing what we can to make sure that we're protecting not only Bird Island, but we're making sure we protect our neighbors by adding some additional safeguards to them by moving gates, moving fences, and then restricting access to some of those parks. I know Windermere Recreation Center, we're putting in a new playground that should be coming in the next month. But yeah, it's an exciting 2022 and I'm open for any questions. I know somebody asked a question. Let me open up the chat real quick. Our 2 roundabouts you mentioned depended upon the sales tax monies, PR, other budget. Yes, I mean, right now I put away about $400,000 a year for road improvements. Again, that's a huge chunk of our $6 million budget. Because right now with the way that our charter is structured is I can't do a road improvement or a major project that is 12.5% of my overall budget. So if my overall budget is $6 million. So if any project that's over $650,000, I would have to get all the voters in the town of Windermere to approve a project over that amount. As you can see, if you don't live in Bessie or Butler, or if you live on West 2nd Avenue, those 3 are $1 million projects. Some people might say, well, I don't live over there. I got potholes in the front of my house. So why would I vote for something that's not associated with my property? So we try to save money in order to avoid going to a full referendum, because you really don't see that in any other community as far as having a full referendum on projects over a certain percentage. Now, I can understand if it was a debt ceiling over that you can't borrow or, have a debt past 12.5%, but that's not the way that the charter is structured. So I'm kind of handcuffed as far as what I can do with projects and me having to save up for those. But the 1 cent sales tax, that would accelerate those projects right now because we would get that cash flow in and it's not anything that we would have to go to a referendum on. So we'd be able to get those projects going. We would definitely include public input, so on and so forth, to make sure that that is something that is sound as far as an engineering standpoint, as far as curtailing some of the cut through traffic, but also making sure that the neighbors that are surrounding that area get their input in as well, as far as pedestrian crossings, noise, buffers, or whatever they need. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Robert, thank you so much. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed with everything that's going on. So I can only imagine what you're having to deal with. Do we have questions here or any other questions from our members that are on Zoom? All right.
There's one thing I do want to address. I know people ask questions about the boathouse issue. That is one issue that was decided 20 years ago. That is something that the boathouse owners in the town, and the backstory of that is the town decided to go ahead and decide who owned those boathouses. So they filed a claim in circuit court, and the boathouse tenants at the time decided to file a counterclaim. Well, the counterclaim was dismissed, and the town was going to proceed with that court case. And in lieu of going to court, then the boathouse owners at the time and the town decided to enter into a 20-year lease. And at the end of that lease, the boathouses would be turned over to the town, or their interest would be turned over to the town. Now, you see a lot of social media posts and stuff like that saying that the town's taking away something. This is something that was decided 20 years ago. And when you talk to like Jerry Fay, who was at the meeting, we're like, he was the only one that actually was there when he signed the agreements. When you asked him specifically, Jerry, what was your understanding of this lease agreement at the end of the term of this lease? He said, we would give all of our interest to the town. So it's kind of misdirected hostility towards town staff and to town council for something that was agreed to by the boathouse owners and the town at the time. So when you see these petitions and stuff like that, please make sure that you get your information prior to signing those. Because there's nothing that they voluntarily signed those agreements to avoid litigation back in the day, and they still had the availability to go to court if they wanted to follow through with that, and they did not. So they voluntarily signed a lease agreement, and we're just enforcing that agreement that everybody signed voluntarily. So Stephen, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, good. Because council meeting's tonight, right?
Yeah, the council meeting's tonight, and the only thing that's on the council meeting really that has to do with the boathouses is what the town council decided, not only in this council, but the one in 2016, was that at the expiration of those leases, what they would want to do is they would want to refurbish those boathouses to bring them up to a standard. So it'd be HPB Historical Preservation Board would bring it up to a standard and rebuild those to make them look as if they were, back in the day, because some are falling into the lake as it is right now. And then what they would do is create a lottery system. So any town resident would have an ability to lease out those structures. And understand too, during this whole time frame, there's been good faith negotiations with the boathouse tenants trying to work out an additional lease. Unfortunately, those fell through because either they would not agree to the ownership or a price range. I mean, it was $150 a month for the lease of those boathouses. And again, not everybody has access to a boathouse. So it'd be a lottery system. So everybody puts their name into this lottery system. It would be a name randomizer. So one name per household. And then anybody that lives in the town of Windermere, whether you live in the Willows, the Manors, Marina Bay, or town proper, you'd have an ability to lease a boathouse for up to 3 years.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say our town government is based on a volunteer council and mayor. And then all of our committees are volunteer. So everything that we have a very strong town manager type of government. And everything you heard Robert mention, and the food truck night and the market and everything else is, in my opinion, thanks to it going through Robert's desk. And it all gets done. I don't know all the things he mentioned, but I would say we have a very strong government of volunteers and one desk that everything else goes through. And so thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Steve, for the kind words. And
we second that.
Do we have any other questions?
There's one on here. Did COVID change anything permanently in town business or how you do business? Slightly. We do shifts because right now we're in small little temporary offices. So we did like a shift change kind of thing to where week one shift A would do would work from home Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then next month they'd be working from home Tuesday, Thursday. So we switch people in and out. So not every day are you going to see Diane in there or Dorothy in there, or Teresa or Teresa going to be there every day, but Tara. And with PD, we've tried to do as much as we can, but we're finally fully at staff with PD. We're just making sure that we're having them wear masks. We're not mandating any vaccinations or anything like that, but they're being very careful too because of the different variants, but we're not immune to it. We have 2 that are under right now.
All right. Oh, okay. Paul.
Paul Kennard, I live on Lake Binac. A couple of years ago, there was a proposal for the town of Windermere to annex Shendelock. What's going on with that?
We're waiting on any annexation discussions until after we have the new facilities. Because again, there's so many moving parts that we're working on right now. And I think at that time, it's going to be a better discussion to have once people at Shendelock see a new police station, an updated police station, an appropriate police station. Not to say that we had any lack of services, but anything like that. But we're going to start tackling those once we get into new facilities, and probably once our police department is accredited. But yeah, Shendelock is something that we're looking to annex in. It's about, I think, $64 million worth of taxable value. They're pretty much our next door neighbors. They're a gated community. They pay for pretty much everything that an HOA would pay for. So any cost to the town residents would be de minimis. So you do a cost benefit analysis. So the benefits to the town would be significant as to whatever the cost would be to annex them in.
Because basically the reason I ask is because living on Lake Binac, we're kind of out in the middle of the county. Takes a long time to get response back from anybody. And being part of the town of Windermere would greatly make things easier for us.
Believe me, I sympathize with you because I see the response times not only for you guys but for Isleworth. And the problem is that when you're in OCSO, a sector, so you're in a huge area sector, and it used to be part of Pine Hills. So all of their resources were in Pine Hills. So if you call the police officers or OCSO, you wouldn't get a response time for 12, 13 minutes. Yeah. When our police officers were at the ready, and we'd be calling up Sector 3 captain saying, listen, we're able to respond, and we would get a no. So we have mutual aid, but we don't have automatic aid. And the difference is that automatic aid is we can go directly in there, and we have an automatic aid agreement with ACOE and Orange County Fire. So yes, we will be looking at selective annexations, probably in latter of 2022, 2023. Any crimes lately to report? I can't emphasize this enough to everybody. It sounds crazy, but just lock your doors at night. There's a lot of people that just leave everything in their cars, whether it be money, guns, purses. They leave their cars unlocked. And what these kids do, and it's mostly, usually it's around the holidays or during summer breaks, they'll check car doors. And if the car door is unlocked, it just makes them so easy just to reach in and grab whatever they can. And most of the break-ins that we have are because of that. Now, if you're going to go out of town, what we do have as a police service is we'll do home checks, and we'll check it twice a day to make sure that nothing's going on. Because sometimes what people will do is knock on your front door. If nobody answers, then they'll give a signal to their buddy in the back to go ahead and go through a back window or break a sliding glass door to enter to the home. But yeah, we do safety checks and so on and so forth. So if you're out of town, just make sure you give us a call. And please, again, see something, say something. Our officers are at the ready. So don't go on NextDoor and say, I saw a suspicious person, or, somebody I think broke into my house or something like that. Call our anonymous number, call 911. that's what they're there for. You're not going to get in trouble for calling them for something that you believe is going on, and actually helps us out. And if you have a Ring camera or any other camera system in your home, make sure it's operational, because it can not only help you, it could help your neighbors too. Because if there's a crime that's across the street, we may be able to use your Ring footage to catch that suspect. How are the youth programs doing? It's hard because the minute we started the WAVES program, COVID hit. So they've been very constrained on what they can do. We haven't met in a couple of months right now because of, again, the holidays and whatnot. But we're still trying to get them more active. It's more of a youth council kind of thing, to where they're learning about how to sit on a town council or sit on a board or committee, which is going to help them become future leaders. Any other questions?
Any other questions here? All right. Again, Robert, thank you so much. Lots of information to digest, and looks like y'all are really busy.
Yeah, it's all fast, so they just recorded.
So we thank you very much for taking time out to come and share what's to be expected, what's going on, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Okay, on kind of a personal note, but not so much, you should have received in the mail, a P-mail from Frank, a request to do a little short bio that's connected with from our DAC DB, where you give the information, then to enhance that. Now, my personal secretary, who's gone to his job, did mine, and there are so many typos in there. And to think I'm an educator, I'm like, oh, I can't believe you posted that. But really, that was Don. He said, oh, I'll do it. And I looked at it, and oh my gosh. But so many of you have had such interesting careers. And I don't know what all of you have done when you were actively working. Some of you I do know, and I'm always so impressed, but really take time just to do 3 or 4 little sentences, because it's just a way to get to know each other better. And I'm beseeching you and asking you to do that. So please do that. And then we can either do it electronically, or we can, print something out or whatever. I know you've had something like that in the past, but it would be very helpful for those of us that are relatively new to be able to bow down to all of you who have had these wonderful jobs in the past or are still working. Don Greer, my Lord, we need to get yours, because that man is something else, as well as almost everybody else up there and here. So I want to ask you to please do that. If you do not have a picture, I will personally take that picture and post it, but let's have everyone's picture. Go in and upload or download or whatever. That's why I have a personal assistant to do that, a picture for us. I would really appreciate it. Also, it's time to do, the 50-50. So I'm going to ask that one of our students please draw a ticket. Let me get over here. And just read the last 3 numbers on that ticket. 385. Oh, I'm sure it's me. 383. Oh, this would be mine. Woohoo! All right, and one more. 378. All right, Rich. Okay, so now let's come over here and do the 4-way test. So if you would please repeat with me. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And number 5, are we having fun? All right. So at this point, one more thing. I got a draw. Wow, yes, how could I forget? I am sure that I'm going to get it. Right? Okay. Oh. All right, now did you, there's one that's kind of sticking up here. That's a little conspicuous. Did I get it? Oh. Okay. All right. Everyone let me ding this bell over here. I hope everyone stays safe. As I said before, I think we're all going to get COVID before it's over. Hopefully you have been vaccinated and it will be very mild. So at this point, we are dismissed.
Thanks, Robert.
Hey, no
Good job,
problem.
Robert.
That's good.
I can stay
It's
on and
Steve.
answer any
Steve.
questions you guys might have. The kids just went to school, so I got a quiet house now.
Yeah, thank you, Robert.
No
All
problem.
right, thank you, Rob.
Feel better, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Robert,
All right, bye,
I
guys. All right, seeing no other questions, I'll get off and